Hello there, and welcome to Pixel Heart Duo, Gaming for Couples. This is the podcast episode number 8. As always, I am Frick.
And I am Fox.
She is Fox. Turn her volume down a little bit. So, we've been gushing
Am I
over.
screaming?
Oh my gosh, she's in the red. I mean, I'm pretty loud too, but. So, last week we gushed a little bit about Palworld. Spoiler alert, we're going to gush a little bit more. But for the time being, we're going to cover some titles that are good non-beginner titles that couples can enjoy together. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean you can play them together. A couple of these titles you might be able to. But these are games that have stories that you can get into as together. You can enjoy them together. You can just immerse yourself. Not necessarily play them together, but if you want to try and figure out a way to do that, go for it. So we'll go ahead and have you lead off with the first game, and we'll just alternate you, me, and then we'll finish up with everybody's favorite game they love to hate, Palworld, and then we'll have a topic for the night. So, go ahead and start with this first title, and we will talk about it.
So this first game was much anticipated and was appeals to the D&D crowd as well as turn-based crowd. Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate is an immersive role-playing video game that seamlessly blends single-player and cooperative multiplayer elements. Players have the freedom to craft one or more characters and assemble a party, which may include pre-generated characters to delve into the rich narrative of the game. Additionally, players can opt to join forces online, teaming up with others to embark on a collaborative adventure. Set in the fictional world of the Forgotten Realm in the year 1492 DR, more than 120 years following the events of Baldur's Gate 2, Shadows of Am, and a few months after the playable Dungeons & Dragons 5e model Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. The story unfolds primarily in the Sword Coast of Western Faerun. Pardon if I am butchering any of these pronunciations. English is not so good. Anyway,
English is our first language.
this expansive setting encompasses diverse locales such as Emerald Grove, a druid grove dedicated to the deity Sylvanas, Moonrise Towers, and the shadow-cursed lands, cloaked in an unnatural and sentient darkness penetrable only through magical means, and Baldur's Gate, the sprawling and affluent city, along with its suburban counterpart, Rivington. The journey also takes place through the Underdark, the Astral Plane, and Avernus, creating a vast and captivating game experience. When it comes to Baldur's Gate, the thing that got me really excited about it is having played Divinity: Original Sin. I enjoyed the turn-based functionality of pretty much the entire game, but particularly the combat, which makes it challenging because you're sitting there and you see your little enemy friend moving towards you, and you just gotta sit there and cringe, and you're like, oh, this is gonna hurt. And then go through and then all of a sudden, you got all kinds of other mobs coming in to join the fight, and you just gotta sit there and wait for your turn, which is both sadistic and hilarious at the same time. So, or is it's masochistic when you want to hurt yourself, right?
Yes, masochistic. Or no. Maybe. Is it sadist? You know what? It doesn't matter.
One of those things, it feels good to feel bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
I will say one of my critiques, negative comment, about Baldur's Gate, and I may very well get flamed, from here until wherever that's far away. Um, I am not a romance person, and I feel like that element was really kind of, it was a lot, and it felt like it was written by kind of like horny 15-year-olds. Um, and like it just like came right out, like, buy me a drink first. I don't know, something. Um, but but I also was told that streamers were like, what are they, speed running to the first hit and quit, and they got it down to like 5 minutes. Um, and, and I was like, oh, like I said, I'm just not a big romance person. And that was kind of honestly a turnoff for me. However, I have since heard that the updates have fixed that, because that was not intentional for there to be speed romance runs. So the updates have fixed that and slowed that down in a little bit. I will also say this is not a game to be played with little ones amok. There's violence, there's gore, and then the romantic scenes too.
You mean
So
to tell me you don't want your little children to see the Cthulhu faces, the mind flayers eating people's souls?
no, or like kicking the squirrel and having it splatter across your screen. Um, Not so much.
Yeah, I gotta say it was a little awkward doing the romance scenes, and like we were playing together, and it's just kind of like, being a guy, I'm like, I want to see what this is all about. So like, I try and sneak away and do it, and then you would come eavesdrop, and I'm like, now I feel awkward. This is very like, if you want to go take 5 minutes and like get some tea or something, like this is awkward. But it was just like how forward it was with some of the romance. It's like, can I just get to killing people? Like I don't need all of it, but like I don't know, like I see the appeal. Some people, like that's the closest they're gonna get to a relationship. But I mean, I don't know, banging an orc is on somebody's bucket list, I'm sure. But it's a lot of fun. It takes so much time to play. It's kind of like a D&D campaign. Like it takes forever to get through D&D campaigns because it takes so much time. And then Baldur's Gate has a story that like you want to get into, and you want to go do all the side quests and you want to do all that stuff. Um, and But it's like, okay, well now I want to do attacks, and because it's turn based and you can move around, a la D&D, Warhammer, that's tabletop stuff. Sometimes fights can take a long time. So if you're like, I just want to hop on, let's just play 30 minutes together, you're not going to play Baldur's Gate because you don't get anywhere. Like it's one of those games where people were spending upwards of 150 to 200 hours single player, not even playing co-op, and they were just barely getting to the end. So it's one of those games where you play and you play and you play and you play and you play, and 19 years later you're halfway done with the game, and Baldur's Gate 4 is out. So
the game is broken into 3 acts, and generally speaking, the developers are saying that it should take about 40 hours per act to get through. For Act 2 is a little bit of a grind. It's it's kind of like the sandwich, but not so good inside. Like the bread, Act 1 and Act 3 are like amazing, and Act 2 is kind of like you just got to get through it. So if you're stuck in Act 2, never fear, persist and get into Act 3, because it's a whole lot of fun once you get to that part.
yeah, for sure. And I know that there was some bugs and other things when the game first launched with like if you progressed to Act 3 too fast. There were some bugs, and there were some bugs at like the end of Act 1. You could actually skip Act 2 entirely, and then it would break your save file, but they patched those pretty quickly. But yeah, Baldur's Gate, it's one of those, and like I said, all of these titles that we're going to talk about, we're only going to talk about 5 titles, but some of these titles, they're fun to enjoy together, but not necessarily playing together. This is one of those that you can enjoy playing together, but if one of you is not very story driven and just likes to kill things, there might be lulls in the action. But I get involved in stories, you get involved in stories, so it's a lot of fun. And chat, thank you for sharing with us. Those of you who are listening, you don't have to worry about this. Those of you who are watching the VOD, there will be, I am big on production value. We're only going to be watching videos when I'm talking, because there's no audio when she's talking and there's a video. Streamlabs is being a jerk tonight, so. But yeah, so Baldur's Gate 3 is the first title. The next title, those of you who have been following along for the last few months, we've been shilling Game Pass and Xbox. It has not been on purpose. It's one of those where, like, it's insane value. We are a couples focused podcast. This is not an Xbox title. I get to tap into my RPG, PS5, PlayStation, Sony fanboy roots. And our next title on the list is Final Fantasy XVI. Considered by some as the next evolutionary leap in the Final Fantasy series and viewed by others as a narrative-heavy obstacle, the 16th installment in this enduring epic franchise undeniably excels in delivering an emotional narrative punch. Final Fantasy XVI skillfully weaves a tale that sets the stage for colossal battles and heart-wrenching deaths, shaped by the conflict of Valthea and the Acons, along with the Dominants who bear their gifts. In a world saturated with magic users face formidable challenges, adding layers of complexity to the unfolding drama. Regardless of where Final Fantasy XVI stands in the series' legacy, one cannot deny the game's ability to evoke cheers, tears, groans of despair, and moments of awe. What more could one ask for from a Final Fantasy game? So, Final Fantasy purists like me, it took a while to get into like Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy 16, because it is so different. Final Fantasy 7 Remake. 16 is the newest in the series. It's probably actually like the 75th Final Fantasy game. If you're including like all the Mana series, all the Sendeku series, like it's good. It's another divisive title. Just because it is an action RPG, it's not your true like turn-based RPG. It's not, a lot of those are seeing a resurgence, like Sea of Stars, Chain of Echoes, those type of games. They're starting to come back, but a lot of people, they don't like that turn-based, which is why like the Final Fantasy VII Remake is an action RPG. The second title in that series that's coming out is going to be an action RPG. Final Fantasy 16 is the same, but it's got that epic story. So it's good. It's one where I had to put it aside because we just had so many other titles we were playing, and it's like, I don't have time to finish it. I'm going to finish it eventually, but it's got a story. Square Enix really knows how to tell stories. The Japanese love their stories. Those of you who love JRPGs knows it takes, like Persona 5, you can play that game for 100, 120 hours, and it's got 15 hours of actual gameplay. They love to weave their stories, and Final Fantasy 16 is another one of those titles, and it is a PS5 exclusive. So another game you can get into that's story driven, you can enjoy together.
One of the features that's really nice with Final Fantasy 16 is that you're able to gosh, I can't remember which button it is, but you can press a button and it actually catches you up on the lore up to that point. So you can find out what kingdom you're going to, what their who their enemies are and that kind of thing. So if that's why you're playing it is for the storyline, don't worry, you get a little lost. It's cool, you just kind of hop into the story like outline, so to speak, and it catches you up. Um, and yeah, the game was a little divisive. There was the well actually crowd that didn't like the departure from its RPG roots. And it wasn't really, I don't know, like a full on departure. It's just kind of like, a sidestep really into the action um, fight, kind of thing. But it was enough to cause a little bit of a rift in the gaming community. So I'm one of those people where if it's not canonical, like, or if it's not like, back to its roots, like every single time, I'm okay with it. I think every iteration is going to take on its own life, and there'll be good things about it, and then there'll be things that I miss about old iterations or whatever. That's the great thing about gaming, is that you can just like you know go back and play the other ones. Well, sometimes you get to, sometimes you don't, but um so yeah, if you're looking for a new title that you can jump into the story. Obviously, the story's been going on for, I don't know, decades now. Um, right?
Yeah,
It's been decades.
first one came
Yeah.
out in the late '80s
Yeah.
on
So,
Famicom and Nintendo Entertainment Systems.
if you've grown up with the storyline and whatever, firsthand how well developed it is. But don't let that deter you. Like if you've never picked up a Final Fantasy game in your life, you can jump in.
Yeah, and they do a really good job of each Final Fantasy is self-contained, so none of them tie into each other. So if you're like, oh, 16, I didn't play the first 15. Well, for starters, you're not really going to be able to play 11 because it was online, and 14 is still going. 11, I don't think it's got some dedicated classic servers, but like Final Fantasy games are all self-contained. So 16 is its own story. It follows the same formulaic composition as other Final Fantasies. It has the epic music. It has, the Eidolons and the summons. It's got magic system. It's got combat. It's more action driven than like the first 13. And even 13 was more action RPG. So probably more like 12. 12 was when it started to get more into that action, less like turn based and ARB systems. But 16 is great. It's visually great. It's got some good bad guys. It's got some good guys. It's got some good surprises. So I would definitely say check it out. If y'all like stories, y'all like action, you like a mix of both. Final Fantasy
The
16.
soundtrack is killer.
Soundtrack as well.
Date night, Mr. Frick is going to see orchestra play the soundtrack because that would be amazing. We need to find that.
I think they're going to be coming to Denver in March, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'll have to look.
serendipity doodah. Okay.
Next up on the list, go.
All right. What remains of Edith Finch? It's a question that we're all asking, but PC players as well as PlayStation and Xbox as well as Switch players can all find out. In just a little over 2 hours of gameplay, what remains of Edith Finch manages to leave a lasting impression that you won't stop discussing, even years after the experience. The game's allure lies in its dark aesthetic and the compelling tale of a family curse leading to untimely and tragic fates for its members. While games with a generally dark and sad tone are abundant, what remains of Edith Finch stands out with its refreshing and unexpected message at the conclusion. The narrative elegantly underscores the inevitability of death. No one can evade it indefinitely. Yet, it's precisely this inherent curse of impermanence that amplifies the beauty of human endeavor to live. In the face of mortality, the pursuit of life becomes all the more poignant and wonderful. One of the things that um, educators are actually pushing for is including this game in certain curriculum. And I talked a little bit about how I'm not, a canon purist, and I'm not like a, platform or, type purist or anything like that. I'm also one of those people that if it gets kids engaged in reading and learning, I don't care what form it is. If they're learning how to read from a comic book, I'm good. If they're learning about powerful concepts and possibly scary concepts like death in a way that is, not enjoyable because that would be weird, and probably the sign of a mental disorder. But if it's able to present, the discussion in a way that's helpful and productive, in a way that they can process, yes, it's an inevitability, but that also, as this game um, helps you do, is kind of taps into, actually it amplifies the beauty of what we experience every day, as we live and
Hmm.
breathe.
Yep. And I guess I have a little bit of a mental disorder because I can think of a couple of deaths that would be enjoyable. If you got to go out, there's worse place to go out. But we won't go down that rabbit hole. Um, I remember I haven't played Edith Finch in a while. I mean, it's one of those where I played it twice. I played it the first time, and then I went back and played it a second time because I wanted to see what I was missing the first time. It's a short enough game where you can play it again. Um, and it's one of those where it sticks with you. And it is. I heard about adding it to curriculum as well, and I think video games, they allow children to be more creative. Visual learning, I had a former partner who thought that getting kids into reading by way of graphic novels was dumb. Either you enjoyed reading or you didn't, and it's like there's a way for you to actually like build up your imagination. What Remains of Edith Finch. Not only is it widely available now, I mean, you're talking, you can even get it on, your Apple, your iOS devices. Like, you can play it anywhere, and it's something where you can play it on a bus ride. Going somewhere, you play it on a plane ride. You can just sit down one day and just play it on your couch and your Switch. Like, and it really does, like, as somebody said, it's a bit traumatizing, but the narration is 1,000 out of 10. Yeah, absolutely. It is very good. A lot of people, I think, were caught off guard with not only how short it was, but how impactful it was. And so this is a game that, like, y'all could sit down and enjoy it together, and it's not going to eat up the next 9 months like Baldur's Gate would, but it's also it gets right to the point, and it deals with some issues that can be traumatizing, but kind of it's got a beauty to it, and it talks about family issues and loss and all sorts of things, and so it's definitely a game that we wanted to highlight. It is a little bit older, but you know what? We covered Braid in a previous episode, and that game's 9 years old. So, we covered Little Big Planet. So yeah.
Well, and just a caveat on the game, obviously, what we've been talking about is the game deals heavily with death because it's a family curse where, family members are meeting untimely deaths. So if that is something that you are sensitive to, you may want to skip over this title. There are a couple, or I think one in particular. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but if there are some no goes, you might want to, yeah, just a little warning. Trying to like skirt that line of warning people appropriately without giving anything away. So, because it is a great game.
It really is. It really is. All right, so One last title before we gush a little bit more about Palworld. I already spoiled it for you multiple times. I will say, because Streamlabs is being a butt, I had this awesome thing for Palworld. I was going to talk about, some stuff. We're still going to talk about it, but I don't have a cool graphic. So, our final game of the night, before we gush on Palworld and get into our topic, is Genshin Impact, everybody's favorite gacha title. It is a captivating open-world free-to-play gacha game that transports you to the enchanting realm of Teyvat. Your quest? Uncover the mysteries surrounding the disappearance of your twin sibling, and alongside you on this journey is the ever-present companion Paimon. As you explore the vast world, recruit a diverse cast of adventurers through the gacha system and story progression, each character bringing their own rich high fantasy lore to deepen the narrative. The game is a dynamic experience with frequent updates and fresh content, often expanding the overarching storyline. Engage in free events that add another layer of excitement to your gameplay. If you're a fan of open-world RPGs boasting stunning graphics, Genshin Impact stands out as an excellent choice for an immersive and visually striking adventure. Now, I will say, it took me a while to get into this game. Everyone was raving about it, and I loaded it up on my PC, and I went, this reminds me of the dime a dozen gacha games that you get on your phone or your tablet, and it's stunning through the tutorial, and then it just tanks hard, and it's like, the Evany or like the Farmville, like, knockoffs, and it's like Genshin Impact was not that. It had a story, it had characters, people get into it, people cosplay these characters. Like, if you go on the Genshin Impact subreddit, it's active, it's still going. A few years down the road, they're releasing content updates, they're releasing story updates. MiHoYo, the company that makes the game, is still supporting it. I will say I kind of lost interest just because I have a really bad case of ADD sometimes. So if I get into something else, I tend to drop things. But it's really easy to get into the story. It plays a lot like, the newer Zeldas, where you can run around. You get a lot of good characters for people who are into RPGs. You get mages, you get warriors. They all have their own unique personalities. It's vibrant, it's colorful. It's a lot of fun. It's another one of those games that it takes a long time to get near the end, and once you get to the end, you're not really at the end, because the developers released a new story, new content patch, new characters for you to try out. It does have quite the following. Genshin Impact has a large following. And like I said, it's on PS4, PS5, mobile devices, on PC. Like, you can play it pretty much anywhere. And you can take your save data, your profile, from mobile onto PC. And it's pretty seamless. I had a save file that when I would, take my kids on appointments, I'd play it on my iPad. And then I come back and I play it on my PC. And, it's a lot of fun. It did take me a while to get into it, because I had to get past that gotcha barrier that, like, so many games, they reel you in, and then they're like, hey, here's this $49.99 pack. If you don't buy this, you're going to fall behind everybody else. And Genshin does have microtransactions, but they're not game breaking. Like, you can enjoy the story without really spending too much money, which is really nice.
I will say, yeah, the microtransactions are, because of course you want to shell out that money, because it's gated between time and effort, right? And you can just, plunk down $4.99, $9.99, $15.99, $29.99, and then just kind of like fast forward onto the next one. But it is fun, because it's like you get to plug yourself into an anime, right? And yeah, so to me that was like the closest to being Asuna that I was ever actually going to be, So I enjoyed the game. Actually, the younger crowd seemed to really get into it quite a bit. It was going around the high schools, and yeah, in popularity and whatnot. But I'm super excited to talk about Palworld. So
Let's do it. And I have another video for those of you who watched, and I had that launch video. We're going to talk a little bit about Palworld. We're going to gush about it a little bit more, not too long. We just did an entire episode last week on it. But because it's still growing, still getting popularity, still garnering hate, I suck up your tears. Palworld is amazing. So here's a video for y'all. Enjoy it. For those of you who are listening, Palworld is great. It's if Pokemon had or Digimon had guns, if Ark was actually a good game. I just pissed a lot of people off. It's great. Like, it's a survival game. It's a gotta catch 'em all game. It's a lot of fun. Like, the developers have a lot of fun with it. In fact, one of the developers came out last week and someone said, is Palworld going to have sex in it? And they said, ooh, interesting concept. If we get 300 likes on this, or 300,000 likes on this, we'll add sex to the game. Like, jokingly, of course. But it's a lot of fun. And for those of you following along, Palworld, in its first week and a half of existence, has 19 million players. It is the highest concurrently played game on Steam. It has 12 million Steam players, 7 million Xbox and Game Pass players. This game is not going anywhere, and it is a ton of fun. I think we spent like 2 nights straight of you were building like this house for us, and you unlocked stone. So you went from wood to stone, and you're like, I need to build this house. I need to unlock all the carpets. I got the antique furniture, and I'm over there like, I need to breed all these pals. Like, I'm like grabbing pals and like throwing them into the breeding ranch. Like, you're gonna make me eggs, huh? And then I like grab the eggs just to see what they are, because I refuse to watch guides. I don't want to look anything up because I do not want to ruin the enjoyment of finding things out. But yes, it is in early access. Yes, there are a lot of bugs. You can fall through the floor sometimes. Like, I don't care. Palworld is so much fun. Like, and I wanted to cover it so that I could throw out that 19 million number, because it is growing insanely fast. This game had a budget of less than $7 million. The developers are listening. Like, they're responding to people in Discord. They're responding to bugs. They're enjoying people giving feedback. Like, they're a ton of fun. I swear they're like pulling people from like lunch ladies from cafeterias and like janitors. They're like, hey, what's the craziest pal that you can think of? Like, they got pal number 69. The little flavor text in it said, they used to fornicate with other pals and then they moved on to humans. And you're like, what? You're never going to find that in a Pokemon game. Well, because it's not. It's Palworld. Get used to it. And it's a lot of fun, and we love Palworld. 19 million players across Steam and Xbox and Game Pass. Congrats to Palworld. I'll shut up now.
um, Speaking of building that house, I got some beef. I don't think you noticed my last round of houseplants that I put up in our home. So next time we log in, you need to like ooh and ah over all the fun accoutrements.
I did not. I was too busy breeding more pals.
The mad scientist over here.
I'm sitting over there whipping them like, you're going to create an egg for me. Because I don't know what it is about seeing like the large and the huge eggs. But it's like, ooh, what's that going to be? And then I got to put it in and like put it in the incubator. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, why are you chopping more wood? Because I got to get the fiber for the house plants. Somebody was comparing Palworld to Ark. No. That's my answer. No.
Yo, I played Ark. I played Ark for a few seasons through quite a few resets. Ark is a survival building game. Ark is janky as hell. Like even Ark enjoyers will tell you Ark is janky as hell. Like it's got visual bugs, it's got building bugs. The developers, it's kind of like, oh, please do not come after us. It's kind of like the Pokemon Company and Ark. Both of them, they have really wildly successful products, but they've gotten complacent and they did not hear what people actually wanted. And so Pocket Pair came out and said, "We're creating this game. We're creating Palworld." And people are like, "This is exactly what I've wanted for years." You're taking the survival building genre, you're taking the monster catcher genre, you're throwing them together. And oh, by the way, they're going to add battle PvP, like arena PvP, Pokemon Stadium much. Like, they're taking everything people want and they're actually listening and making it better. And who cares if they use AI and who cares if they do other things? This game is fun as hell. Like, seriously, I don't care. Like, you guys can sit over there and do the whole stop having fun meme. Like, we're going to sit in our circle and we're going to talk about how great Palworld is. And we should be sponsored by them. Pocket Pair, hit us up. I'll give you our socials. But, yeah.
Yeah. So, get it. I mean, it's what, $29.99. Why?
Yeah, on Game Pass, it's free. So, there
Yeah.
you go.
Pre-owned Mario was more than that on the Switch. So
Yo, I bought Mario Party Superstars for my kids. That game is 3.5 years old and it was $55. I could have
yeah,
bought 2 Power Worlds for that.
yeah.
And had some money left over for a Frosty from Wendy's. Just saying.
Frosties are
A
delicious.
large Frosty. All right. Enough. we could spend another hour talking about Power World. Tonight's topic: if there was a Ready Player One or Sword Art Online type game, is it something that you see coming in the future? And if so, what type of features and content would we want to see? Now, I know that there is augmented reality stuff out there. I know that there is VR and you can do that kind of stuff. You can take the headset off. SAO, you couldn't take the headset off. Now, they did get stuck. But, and I know Ready Player One, they could take the headset off. But, indulge us a little bit, okay? So, I'll go ahead and let you take the lead on this one. Do we see something like that coming in the future, like near future? And if so, like what kind of features and content would we want to see?
So I get this question a lot actually about VR, my opinions on VR, the current state. And my opinion is officially let it cook. It's not quite there yet. I mean, there's some good titles. Like Beat Saber was a lot of fun. You get really sweaty doing that one. And then Moss, the little mouse with a sword is adorable. And I did kick my brother in the head while playing a zombie game because he leaned in, and that's really not a good idea when somebody's playing VR. So I've had some good experiences with it. It's still not quite there. It doesn't have like the immersive, aspect. If I could get locked into Sword Art Online, let's go. Like that's my full-on opinion on that. I would, thinking back to my WoW vanilla days, before vanilla was vanilla. Like, I mean, I don't know how many boars I killed in Elwyn Forest, but it was a lot. And I don't know. If I was in Sword Art, I'd probably just stick to killing boars all day, and picking the daisies. What were the original daisies? The original herbs. I was a daisy picker. Like, ooh, gotta go. um, the boss fights. I don't know. Getting locked into that, and if it's like Matrix style, like you die in game.
Yeah. And I will clarify. there are sword art titles out there. There are games based on the anime. Like, we're talking about putting yourself in that, like having a fully immersive, like haptic feedback, you feel stuff type game. Ready Player One on steroids. Do we see something like that happening? Um, I do. I mean, you already have haptic feedback. People, I know I've seen that video of the guys who are like in the zombie and they have like the slope treadmill and the guy's like running away and people are laughing at him because he's like, oh yeah, like running, and he's just like, I could see it coming. I cannot see it being affordable for a while. It's kind of like when big plasma TVs were $10,000 for 40-inch screen. Like, I don't see that happening, but that would be a lot of fun. I also would just like to point out that you were naming alliance starting zones, and
I know.
if we're going to continue to be a couple, you cannot do that. Loktar, baby, Loktar.
I am hard. I am hard. I was led astray. I started playing WoW to play with my former spouse. I kept the game. I divorced him. It's okay.
I say you came out ahead on that transaction.
Um, did you ever watch Gamer
Yeah,
with
yeah, with
what's his face?
Gerard Butler.
Yeah, Butler, right?
Butler.
Something like
Yeah.
that. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. I don't know what that says about me, but apparently I'm not a very deep person. But um, I think that is my fear with going that direction with the immersive gaming, and that there would be people that would be exploited and that kind of thing. But Ready Player One, down for it. Like crazy good races and stuff like that. I think what would make it a really rich experience would be interaction, like with other players. I think that was one of the draws with World of Warcraft, the ability to to interact with other people as freely as you do. Um, and so that's kind of what I would look for. Kind of like what was that thing? VR chat? You know, with the do you know the way?
Yeah, and it's still going strong too.
So almost like VR chat meets, well, World of Warcraft is what I would look for in a title.
Yeah, yeah, same. Or like a global quest, because that's kind of what made Ready Player One so awesome, was the fact that like you had user mods, you had all sorts of stuff like that VR chat with the Sonic and the Knuckles, and like you know seeing all those videos, like that's cool, but there wasn't like the egg to find. There wasn't like this massive grand scale quest. Like if you took like a World of Warcraft or like a Lord of the Rings Online or like a those of you who like having a second job and are tortured by it, like an Eve Online, which I still remember. I had my PSVR. I played Eve Valkyrie. Like I played it for hours because I got to be a frigate pilot. I loved playing Eve Online. Playing Eve Valkyrie was fantastic. Stuff like that. It would be a lot of fun. We would need something like universal basic income because no one would leave their house. We would turn into the fat people in Wall-E. So we'd have to like find a way to implement health standards because I would never leave. I would just sit in the game all day long.
I mean, you have to at some point in time hand a bodily fluids. Although I guess according to the news, not always.
We really need to watch Idiocracy together. Like I've been selling all of my friends. Like it went from being a funny, like low tier comedy movie to a tragic documentary. They covered that in Idiocracy. There was like toilet recliners.
I think you would have to, in order to not, for everyone not to just, kind of turn into just like blobs of human flesh, the haptic system would have to also incorporate some kind of like tense unit where it would stimulate your muscles so you don't experience atrophy.
Yeah.
That that's
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine like you going into work and you're sore the next day and they're like, "Why? What do you do? Why are you sore?" "Well, I killed 500,000 boars last night." That's a lot of work.
I was leveling up my position in guild so that we could unlock the next door.
I was leveling up my sword skill on a tree. Remember when we had to do that?
Ugh, yeah. Get a new axe. When I was played shaman, and we went from we went to dual wielding, but the best single handed weapons were not. I was not proficient, so you had to go swing at like level 1 and 2 skeletons and scorpions to level it up. Yeah, but anyways, so we'd love to hear what y'all think. Um, you know, send us an email. We do mailbag episodes. So admin, ADMIN, at frickinfox.com. FRICKNFOX.com. Tell us what you think. Those of you who watch the YouTube VODs, leave comments. Those of you who, have something to say, want to shout out, have a question, let us know. Do you see like a Ready Player One SAO type game? Not title, but the type coming. That's going to do it for this episode. I feel like talking about Palworld some more, so that's where we stop. Because as soon as I want to talk about my pals, we say we're done for the day. So feel free to tune in to our YouTube channel. Just look up Frickin' Fox or Pixel Heart Duo on YouTube. You'll find our channel. You can watch the VOD. We upload it every Friday. You can catch us across all audio streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Google Music. iHeartRadio. You can find us anywhere your ears can pick up stuff. We simultaneously upload the VODs and the audio. Again, if you want to follow us, Frickin' Fox on YouTube, look up Pixel Heart Duo. Email us at admin, ADMIN, at frickinfox.com. Let us know what you think. We might read your email in a future mailbag episode. But for now, I am Frick.
I am
She
Fox.
is Fox. We will catch you guys next week. Game on.
Peace.